Oh, is your show live? Does it come on live or showing that? Oh, it's live.
Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you. Hello and welcome to World Inkers Network. I'm Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host. Today we have Alonzo Gross, known as Zoe, and he is a poet, songwriter, rap artist, actor, dancer, recording artist, playwright, screenwriter, and multi-award-winning author. His short stories were first published internationally in 2005 and in 2006 in the Staying Sane book series published by Evelyn Fazio. Staying Sane When Family Comes to Visit, 2005, and Staying Sane During the Thanksgiving Holiday. Zoe's first book of poems, entitled Inspiration, Harmony, and the World Within, was published in 2012. In that same year, he was awarded Best Spoken Word Poet at the Lehigh Valley Music Awards. In 2016, he was selected as a featured poet in the film Voices, directed by Gina Nemo, filmed in Los Angeles, California, and released in 2017 in select theaters as well as Amazon Prime. Then in January of 2018, he released his second book of poetry entitled Soul Elixir, The Writing of Zoe, which was greeted with rave reviews and a 5 out of 5 star rating. In November 2020, Zoe was named as one of the best poets of 2020 by Inner Child Press, where his work was featured in their anthology. In June of 2021, Zoe released his third 5-star reviewed book of poetry and art titled Poems for You and Yours. And in April of 2022, he won the award for Best Poetry Book of the Year and first place at the Book Fest Awards. Also in that same month, he appeared on the national news WFMZ Channel 69 for his first sit-down interview since winning for Poetry Book of the Year. And on June 3rd, 2022, he won another award for his book, Poems for You and Yours, this time from the International Book Awards for Poetry Book of the Year in the Urban category. Also in 2022, this was followed by winning the Golden Heart International Literary Prize in July from the World Foundation. Along with his wife, they founded their own publishing and entertainment label in 2022 entitled Seed Royal Publishing, in which they look to publish other writers and artists. He's a graduate in the field of English literature and dance from Temple University. A true Renaissance man, he looks forward to releasing music CDs, acting, and producing films, as well as new books of poetry and art. Welcome to the show, Alonzo. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. It's nice to have you. So I'm curious, how do you navigate so many disciplines of art? I mean, it seems like it's like just such a variety of different things that you're doing.
Well, yeah, like I liken it to someone that juggles a lot of things. When you juggle a lot of things, the main thing the juggler focuses on is balance. So as long as you have that balance as a juggler, you can juggle a variety of things. For me, I like to juggle a lot of things, but my balance is communication. So as long as I look at it as form of communicating, whether it's films or books or music, and I try to keep that basis, that foundation of communicating. So it makes it gives it more perspective to do those things.
So you consider yourself sort of a communicator of sorts, and you kind of like, use that as your founding ground for your different disciplines.
Correct. Because if I didn't think of it that way, I would wonder how am I going to do all this. But like I said, if I have everything as the grounding foundation is for my balance is communication, I just keep that in mind that I'm just communicating through this medium or through that medium. And it's like I said, I liken it to a juggler. So, but it's a lot. It's also time management and not
Right.
wasting time. But definitely keeping that foundation is important.
So what is your daily routine like in trying to balance all of these disciplines?
I usually get up real early in the morning, go to boxing or go to the gym around 5 in the morning. I come back, I do some journaling. I find that opens me up, to get my thoughts out and stuff. I have 3 kids and a wife, so I take care
Hmm.
of them. And by the evening time, that's when I start doing most of my work, like around 7 p.m. I'll get into I like to read a lot as much as I love to write. So I'll either read or create something or start an outline for a new book or listen to music. But usually my creative day starts officially around 7 p.m. every day, unless the
Hmm.
kids are away for the weekend. I start much earlier, but it's around that time, and I'm up late till maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and then do the whole thing again. So let's keep
So
it that
you
way.
do have a pretty steady discipline approach to organizing your time.
Yeah, yeah, more so. Yeah, sometimes I deviate if I want to watch a movie or something, and I'll take a night off or take a day off. But usually that's the schedule to go to bed that late and to get up that early.
What appeals to you most about writing?
I think it's the communication between whatever is speaking to me that I can communicate to other people. Like some people believe in the universe or God or the God of your understanding. I like that communication between whatever that is and feeling that communication and sharing that with the viewers, the writers out there, and the audience. So it is very like I said, I'll hear insights and thoughts from books that I read, and I'll sleep and I'll get these thoughts in my dreams. And I love to. It's our job as artists to share those perspectives, those insights with our audience and our supporters. So I just like I said, I love to share and communicate. But also writing is for me is a lot about listening. It's a lot. Many people miss that point when they're trying to write things down and themselves. If you get out of the way of whatever's creating through you and let that medium work through you, you can get a lot more work out there and it's a lot more seamless that way as well.
Interesting. So is it sort of a communication with like a divine, not really necessarily a being, but like there's some sort of like light within, a spark that you're kind of channeling in a sense when you're writing?
Absolutely. And I think any artist or any writer uh, to not think of it that way and just think that you're doing this all themselves is totally missing the point. There are definitely, I believe there's a variety of things that are working through you, whether it's something you read, something you watched, maybe the last thought you had before you went to sleep. And these things, they swirl around in your head and they come out at any time. And like I said, as artists, it's our job to capture these things and to, like a butterfly and bring them out for the readers and the audience. There's
Hmm.
definitely something there. There's definitely a driving force with that person that chooses this field to communicate.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think that most writers and artists in general or have almost a religious devotion to their art.
Yeah.
It's a very profound thing, and I think it's definitely true that there's something you're channeling, some kind of energy from somewhere. It doesn't matter what you call it; it's what it
Hmm.
is.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's
Sure.
glad to hear that you're in kind of communing with that. So
Hmm.
what's it like for you to win so many awards? Do they matter to you, or does that just sort of like a feather in your hat kind of thing?
Well, no, it definitely is. I'm appreciative. I mean, I the last award there was a gap in between 2012 when I won the Best Spoken Word Poetry Award from the Lehigh Valley Music Awards. It was a 10-year gap in between that to winning the awards that I'm winning this year. So it was like I do the work out of love, but it feels good to feel like your work that you're putting out is appreciated because
Hmm.
artists they don't usually we kind of feel like we're off kilter or we're crazy but but to get recognition for what we write, okay, we think, okay, maybe I'm not crazy, maybe the work is connecting, and it's
Mhm.
just motivation to keep forging on. Not necessarily for the awards, but like I said, it does feel good. It does make you feel like you're appreciated outside of the norm. So it's something I'm very grateful for to be winning these awards, and I'm nominated for several other awards coming up, but I've yet to know if the outcome of that yet. But it's just something that I strive to share, and whatever
Mhm.
happens, whatever awards I get is that's up to the universe to get those awards. What they choose to award me with.
Excellent. So good luck with the future awards too. It's
Thank you.
really interesting to get some little recognition. I agree. It's like somebody saying, that your work is valid or it's valuable in the times. It's very profound. It's very nice.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful experience. So tell us a little bit about the film Voices. How did you get connected with that, and what was it like working with the people there?
Well, that was great. That was with my friend Gina Nemo from Facebook, and I was just sharing like a lot of poems on Facebook, and she reached out to me because she lives in California, and she saw my work and she wanted to have me on the show. And Voices is like there were like 8 or 9 different selected poets that she selected to be on her show. So we flew out to California. That was my first time being in California, and I was able to like do like some spoken word and actually meet people and go to. I went to Venice Beach and had a great time. But it was great because we got a chance to talk with other poets that were there and to chop it up with them and get their insights and stuff. So it was very enlightening experience. And actually, the film right now is currently on. It's on Amazon Prime, and I think it's on Tubi on the cable channel. So and that was filmed actually in 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
But it was a lot of editing, a lot went into that from her end. But I'm always grateful for that experience.
So, are you currently working with your own company? Are you working with other artists right now on that in that company?
Well, not necessarily from that company, but I have like I said, my wife and I have the Seed Royale Publishing.
Hmm.
So we're looking to publish other artists, and we're also looking to do films and to recruit other spoken word artists to do films, possibly to submit for Netflix and for other channels like that, and for theaters. So we're just looking to branch out our brand and to help others to get their works, like their books, into stores. It's just another gratifying feeling to have my books actually in stores across the country on actual shelves. Many artists, writers, have their books online, and I'm not
Hmm.
knocking that, but it's something different to have your books on the actual shelf. We can walk in and see your book there with other artists like Mickey Giovanni and Edgar Allan Poe and
Hmm.
Milton and people like that. And like, wow, I'm up there, well, and physically in the store. So we want to help others. My wife and I want to help others to feel that feeling of having their books in libraries and stores like that. So that's it's very gratifying.
Do you have some people you're working with now as far as promoting their work in that within that company, or is that
No,
just
not.
something?
It's just something we're still working on that. Getting some people. We have some stuff lined up like for next summer, but it's all like we're all in a regrouping phase right now to get people published. And there's a few people that we're working with, but they still have to get their work to the fourth, like to the into their outlined. Like we also work on helping them to develop their material as well. So we help them with that, and we don't want to like to tell their names too much when they're like working on the material as they're getting into that birthing stage. So
Hmm.
once they're getting it, they chaptered out and stuff like that, then we like to tell people. We're working with several artists. One of which is an artist. He was in prison for a while, and he has a lot of perspective from being in prison for like 15 years. So
Hmm.
we're helping him write his book. We're typing it out. My wife is typing it out, and we're editing. And he doesn't want to be named right now because he's still getting it out there. But once it's out, we'll definitely promote it.
Wow.
We don't prefer any genre. We like to do we do gritty books. We like comic books, of course, poetry books, and we just like I said, we want to help other people communicate. But we have a lot of people that are looking to work with us. But many people say that, and it's one thing to say you want to work with us and get it out, and another thing is to actually go forward with it. So we're dealing with a lot of that, to be honest. People that say I'm interested, and then they don't follow through for whatever reason. So it's a trial and error, but we're working on it to get people out there.
Right. Well, we'd love to help promote a little bit. If you have, when you get an artist out there, you can get us and connecting with us, and we'll help promote a little bit with World
Right.
Inkers work. It'd be fun. I think it'll be. It sounds very interesting. I'm really curious about how your projects turn out. And do you enjoy mentoring young people as well?
Absolutely, I love that. There's nothing more like going to the schools and reading for the kids. And actually, my next book that I'm working on for next year, my wife is an illustrator as well as a writer, and we're working on a young adults book, like a type of fantasy, like Wizard of Oz type of poetry novel type of book. So I'm looking forward to putting that out. That'll be the first type of book, the first book that I wrote of that kind. So we're looking to put that out sometime next year, or maybe close to Christmas, whatever. It depends on how fast it can the process is. But and I'm looking forward to speaking with the children and showing them that there's a world beyond, the stuff that you think in your mind is not, it's not weird, it's not crazy. Those fantasies, those dreams you have, can be made into something creative. So we're looking to hit the schools and libraries and have book signings, for children to see as well.
Wonderful. That sounds exciting. So what do you write about in your poetry? Is there a specific themes, or do you just sort of let it flow out in the way it comes?
There's not always there's a theme, but it depends on how I feel at the moment. Like, because coming from I do rap music as well. So coming from a rap artist background, a lot of my material can be very musical. So maybe I'll be feeling musical. I might hear like a certain music in my head, and I'll write based on that what I hear in my head, and it may sound like more of a song, or I may want to write something that's more esoteric, that maybe everybody doesn't get, but they may pull different interpretations from it. So it all depends on the feeling and the mojo or whatever whatever mood I'm in. But usually my stuff centers around spirituality,
Hmm.
rebirth, and resolution. I try to have some type of resolution, even if the resolution is tragedy. It's still a resolution. So I try to put a lesson into my work. So one of my favorite writers is Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher,
Hmm.
and a lot of his material is it's very poetic, but it's very philosophical as well. So I like to make people have something to think that they can come back to and revisit, and it's always different each time. I've always liked artists that have that type of work, like Jim Morrison. You can read his book, you can read Jim Morrison's book or listen to his music from the Doors, and then get like a different interpretation when you hear the end. You may have a different interpretation based on where you are in your life at that time, versus where you were before when you first heard it. So I like to look at it that way. I like to leave some type of spontaneity with my work as well.
And one of the things that's interesting about Jim Morrison also is that he's a performance artist. He's not just, he's a poet, he's a performance artist. So you guys have some commonality there. He does
Yeah.
a lot of, uses a lot of drama in his performance on stage, and he's a really fascinating figure in history, I think. And it's wonderful to have
Yeah.
artists like that. Do you have some other favorites besides Marcus Aurelius and Jim Morrison, as you mentioned? Is there some others that inspire you on a regular basis?
Oh yeah, definitely. I like Sting from the Police.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome because he's the one that I saw that he was an English literature teacher before he did his rock music with the Police. So
Mm-hmm.
because I saw him do that trail, I also, went to school for English literature, and I taught English lit for a little bit myself. And he said he only went to school for English literature to be a better artist. He never intended on really being a teacher long term. So I always looked at that like, wow, he went to school just to dedicate himself to make his art flourish more, and to be more have more aestheticism in his work. So people like him, Nikki Giovanni, I
Mm-hmm.
admire so much. People like the late David Bowie,
Mm-hmm.
Paul McCartney, John Lennon, um, Joni Mitchell. I love Joni Mitchell's work because she's very she makes colors. When you listen to her work, like Big Yellow Taxi, there's colors, a lot of colors in her music, and it's like poetry. Joan Baez, of course, Bob Dylan. These are people that I also studied in college. So there's a lot of people that I draw from that I inspired, and they and I want to be able to inspire people, in the long run with my work as well.
Well, we're going to take a brief break, but we'll be right back after the break with some of your works. We'd love to hear them. Thanks for joining us on the
Great.
program today.
No problem.
All roads lead to the land of Terenga, the home of hospitality. Join us as we put Senegal in the brightest spotlight in Africa for the historic inaugural Daylight Africa Week, also known as Transatlantic Family Reunification Week and African Open House Week. Daylight Africa Week event is scheduled to be officially launched in the Senegambia region of Africa, specifically in Dakar, in the first week of September 2022 at King Fahd Palace Hotel, Dakar, Senegal. Founded by African Union Day Foundation (AUDF) in New York City, the historical event will be graced by numerous diaspora Africans, American citizens, spiritual leaders, and some New York elected officials who have shown interest in visiting Africa and exploring its grandeur. President Macky Sall, current chairman of the African Union, shall lead the launching of the most transformative initiative for the continent. Join us for the epoch-making event, which features orientation and dinner with Senegalese President, Daylight Africa Week and STEM Up Africa Luncheon Celebration, visitation to Gorée Island and sightseeing, meeting with American Ambassador and dinner with the press in Gambia, African Union Day celebration with the First Lady and Odon Nalia Award, and so much more. African Union Day Foundation, a pan-African non-profit organization committed to promoting Africa and anything Africa. For more inquiries, call +171 8822 5555 or email us at daylightafrica@gmail.com. Be there. In a world where the quality of information available to poorer communities is doctored, tainted, and sometimes regressive, where the words fake news have come to mean other people's opinions, it is vital to rely on news platforms with journalists who have feet on the ground and can report the truth. New York Parrot, a New York-based national and global news outlet, is changing the narratives of media operations. We focus on the news that matters, like self-empowerment, entrepreneurship, finances, health, security, politics, and more. We strive to curb violence, racial and economic discrimination, and to promote peace and socio-economic development of multiculturally diverse world. As we give voice to the people, we also give your business a voice and make it heard. Get your products and services off the ground by advertising on our fast-growing platform. With so much of daily visits to New York Parrot, you can't afford to be invisible to prospective clients on the websites they trust the most. Our posts reach millions of people across the New York State and around the world. Advertising on our new site will unlock an audience of thousands of potential customers on your doorstep. New York Parrot is born to prosperously speak tomorrow for the voiceless.
Welcome back to World Inkers Network and Parrot TV. Wonderful company. Check out New York Parrot when you get the chance. We have Alonzo here with some of his fabulous works. If you'd like to share with us some of your poetry.
Absolutely. The first piece I will share, it's called Father Autumn. It was inspired by Robert Greene's Stay Gold poetry that I heard. It was very short in its brevity, but it was very, like I said, very colorful and had a lot of lessons to it. So this is my piece from my book, Poems for You and Yours, called Father Autumn. And Father Autumn, the leaves wither away, departing from the trees from whence they were abreast, as if no longer feeling the need to feel the trees caress. This is the essence of beauty and silent wisdom manifest. For in this life, we are all but merely temporary guests, often given more whilst seemingly receiving much less. Wherefore, and still, from life lessons, we must take what we will if we are to be blessed. Thence, with the entrance of fall, we must leave behind the rest. So that one's called Father Autumn from the book Poems for You and Yours. Thank you so much. Like I said, that one's inspired by one of my other favorite writers, Robert Frost. So I really love his work. Did you want to hear a few more? Or?
Let me do a couple more.
Okay, great. This one is called A Bridge to Mine Heart. Now, one thing I'll say, when I wrote this book, it was during the during the lockdown, during the COVID, lockdown thing, and I was really inside. A lot of people were inside, and we're just trying to. We got very introspective with our work, especially the writers. And I always saw that this period was like maybe a renaissance period for the writers. I still feel like we're in that. So this piece was me trying to wrestle with the fact that I was feeling isolated and trying to reach out to that higher power. This one's called A Bridge to Mine Heart. O Sacred One, hearest my voice, for I am scared. Mine heart tis like a vacant sun. Mine eyes are drenched and moist. O Beautiful One, sendeth thy winds my way, as I am standing in the gallows, in the shadows I lay. O Moralist One, is thou hearing me? For I am entrenched in this dreaded sepulchre of tyranny. But alas, for thou hast laid thine hands upon my soul's cast. Thenceforth, from mine eyes removed the heavy sands I thought wouldst forever last. For thou didst showest I the end of my eternal dying. I now know why there was reason for my infernal sighing. For that was for thou to start in heaven where thou art, something never torn apart, a bridge to mine heart.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And,
Another one if
I'll
you
read one
like.
more. Yeah, I'll read
Okay.
one more. This one's called Moving Yet Standing Still. And this is one of the ones I mentioned before. It's more esoteric. And it was like I said, I was listening to the Doors, and I woke up and I had this idea for this poem called Moving Yet Standing Still. So this one's called Moving Yet Standing Still. You are a star, as beautiful as your thoughts. With each bruise and flaw, he duly excuses them all. You are smart, intelligent art, blessed with lovely wisdom and colors elegantly splendid, intended to be above a prism, with no division, perfected, never to depart. May your pains all disappear along with your strife, for only when you lose your fear of death shall you lose your fear of life. And that one,
Wow.
like I said, is thank you. It's sort of a contradiction, because moving yet standing still means that you can only be moving with your mind. There's no way to physically move and stand still, other than it being a psychic movement. So that's what that one's about.
Interesting. Quite fascinating work there. It's a little bit classically infused and kind of formalistic in a way, but it's also very creative and fresh. And
Yes.
There's some deep thoughts in that, and a lot of that. I love it. I love it. I actually really like
Thank you
that.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I studied like I said, I studied English literature, but I also studied one of my teachers and mentors was Sonia Sanchez at Temple. So we studied
Oh wow.
classics. Yeah, so we studied the classics like Robert Frost, but we also studied Tupac Shakur and Bob Dylan. And she always told me, if you could infuse your love for the classics with your love of rap, you'd be something else, kid. And I never forgot that. So I try to infuse that into my work, and to make it different, aesthetically, and for people.
Interesting. So, how do you find that rap and the arts can combine in the way that that you mentioned, like the poetry and the rap? I mean, what's the history there?
The history, like I said, I grew up when rap first came out, so I was always into. Oh, but take it back before that, my mother would read me Dr. Seuss books, and if you listen to a Dr. Seuss rhyme, it's very conducive to the precursor of rap, with the rhythm and the cadence. And I challenge anyone to take a Dr. Seuss book and put it behind any hip hop instrumental, and I guarantee you'll sound like an Eminem song, the way it matches perfectly. So I was always into the aestheticism of those beats, and of that he put into his lyricism, Dr. Seuss, and also the pictures that he used as well to paint that. And then when rap came, I was like, wow, I started putting that together. But I was always had like a love for hip hop and rhyming and just saying things differently and using clever words to make a point. But like I said, I also have a love for classical literature, like Edgar Allan Poe and Edward Arlington Robinson, one of my other favorites. And I wanted to find a way to bridge that gap between rap and classical literature. And I've always, I haven't really seen it done to the point where people can comprehend what you're saying. The biggest complaint people say when they read Shakespeare, the biggest complaint is that they don't understand what he's saying. and I get that because it's tough. You have to be in attuned to Shakespeare. Is you have to have a certain ear and a love, and
Hmm.
because it can get very very difficult to understand. But I always felt if I could take the aesthetics of Shakespeare, but make it with the comprehension of a rap song,
Hmm.
it could really reach people and also reach back for people that love classics. So that's where that love came from. And rap is really rhythm and poetry. That's what the acronym really is. It's rhythm and poetry. Many rappers are also poets, and their work reflects that. So I like to keep up with that tradition.
You'll probably find it funny that my aesthetic is trying to do the same thing, but with punk rock instead of rap. I try to mix like a punk rock spirit infused with classical, imbued with some sort of a classical oriented rhythms and images and stuff. That's sort of my idea. So it's interesting. We kind of come from a similar, approach of mixing the music styles with the and the spirit of a style of music with the old, old school poetry. It's really, old forms and stuff. So, how much do you know about the Bronx and the home of hip hop in New York?
Pretty much. I mean, I know that Big Herc, Cool Herc, excuse me, was the one that is actually the one that put the break beats together, and he saw that if you were to take a James Brown loop and loop it just to one drum part, that the party went crazy. And from there, from Cool Herc in the Bronx doing that, the birth of hip hop came shortly after that, and the MC or master of ceremonies was just the person that was like that would hype up the crowd. But then they saw that if you can put rhymes behind that and give them something to listen to along with those break beats, it was a dynamic force. So I studied all those type of things coming up, and there's a big difference between a rapper and a rap artist. There's people that just rap, and there's people like Eminem who just bend words like they're nothing, just bend words from outer space and
Hmm.
rhyme words like orange with syringe, and he finds ways. There's an art to it that, and he's probably one of my favorite rappers ever that is able to bend those words like that. And at the same time, I believe Eminem has many books of poetry and literature in him because he studies so
Hmm.
much. And every great artist, if you find any great artist, they're first a great student. So I see myself as forever a student of even some of the punk rock you mentioned. One of my favorite songwriters was Joseph Strummer from The Clash.
Hmm.
His stuff was very London Falling is a great song when he talked about the demise of Beatlemania from his
Hmm.
perspective, and the death of that innocence that he spoke of in London is Falling. And the Sex Pistols, a lot of those bands had, if you listen to the lyrics and you keep your mind open past some of the screaming and stuff, there's some great poetry there.
No,
So
yeah,
it's great
absolutely.
that, yeah, it's great that and the police were,
Yeah.
yeah, the police were also a punk band at first,
Hmm.
but they were very sophisticated sounding, but they were meant to be like because of Sting's lyricism and his lyrics and his English literature background, they were sophisticated with their punk, but and they infused that with reggae as well. So it's
Hmm.
inspiration comes from a variety of sources.
I love looking at how different inspirations and different forms of art combine and different people and how they bring their different influences together. It's really fascinating how that works. I mean, you mentioned the police, like they're bringing all these different elements in. I mean, even with the Clash, I mean, they were in ska. Ska music was influenced a lot by reggae and
Mhm.
influenced reggae and stuff. I mean, that's all these different forms of music that come into and you bring it into the literature, and it's just fascinating. And a lot of people think literature is like hokey pokey, but it's really very cultural and deep experience when you get really informed about it. What do you
Absolutely.
think of like bringing like artists like you mentioned the Sex Pistols? They were very controversial for their time. What do you think of like bringing controversy in and into the arts?
Well, I think it's very important. I think it's very important for people to feel triggered. A lot of times, but I'll post my poems on Facebook pages, and they'll tell me this needs a trigger warning. But I don't really believe that there should be trigger warnings because if I write a poem that triggers you to cry or triggers you to feel good about yourself, isn't that also a trigger? But if I'm writing about someone who's commit suicide, I wrote a piece about Kurt Cobain,
Hmm.
about how he killed himself and what he may have felt and the pain that would led to his demise. And I was told to put a trigger warning in there. I think art should trigger. It's not our job to make people feel comfortable is to make people feel. So whether they feel happy, elated, scared, whether it's a cautionary tale, whether it's a Shakespearean tragedy, our job is to make them simply feel and to look at their life in a, have it from a different perspective. So I believe there should be some type of quote unquote controversy, and there's always going to be controversy when you tell the truth from your perspective. I'm a poet, but I'm also know I'm an African American. So
Hmm.
some of my pieces may talk about police brutality. They may talk
Hmm.
about the racism that I've uncovered. And I always tell people, before you fall in love with my work, make sure that you're a unconditional supporter, because I may talk about some stuff that may make you feel uncomfortable. Like I said, like police brutality or racism or things of that nature. It's not all wherefore art thou and flowers with my work. So
Right.
it's I believe it has to be condition unconditional love for an artist, or you're gonna find yourself liking just one section of their soul, and that's not fair to the other parts of their work.
Right. I agree. I mean, it's a holistic experience. I mean, and you have to engage. I mean, I always think of art as engagement. You know, you have to engage your audience. You have to provoke them a little bit and get them to think. I mean, like, another form of music, shock rock. You have Marilyn Manson,
Yeah,
who's very controversial. He's also in a little trouble right now, but we'll
yeah,
see how that plays out. But there's just a lot of that needs to be done to get people stirred to think and reflect and not go to sleep. you know,
exactly.
yeah, and that's how you got to keep
Like
the world shaken up. You know.
exactly. Like the first time when Dylan, who did mostly acoustic, well, the first time he did his electric guitar, and people
Hmm.
got so mad at him. The first time he plugged in and did that, guitar, people were so aghast that Dylan plugged in and started playing rock and roll like these rowdy rock and rollers. Here's this poet guy doing acoustic music, but he triggered them just by simply plugging in, as they say, and doing rock music,
Hmm.
and the whole place was going crazy. So it was little stuff like that. But I think he did that to, a to because he wanted to, and to see who his true fans and supporters were, and to shake up, the system a bit, to shake it up, even if it meant just plugging in, So it was that
Right.
way.
So, what final words would you leave with our audience today, and advice for writers, poets, even musicians, fellow artists out there?
I would leave them with this. I read this book by Robert Greene called Mastery, and he talks about it's the acronyms OCD, and the O represents the original mind. That's the mind that we have as kids, where we see colors and everything is new and brand new and beautiful and exciting, and there's imagination that's unfiltered at that stage. That's the O of the OCD. Then there's the C, which is the conventional stage, the conventional mind, where you learn the actual technicalities of your chosen profession, and you learn like what literature is and stanzas and things of that nature, and you get the technical training. Then there's the dimensional mind of the OCD, when you combine the technical aspects of the original mind of a child and bring that into your work, making stuff that's something that's totally different and fearless, but also has the technical aspects. And you get artists like Bowie, Prince, Jim Morrison. So I would tell artists to always keep that OCD, the original, conventional, and dimensional mind in their work, so it never gets stale and it never gets stagnant. So it's a lot to say, but that's what I always keep in mind for all of my material.
Excellent advice. I think that's beautiful, and you said it very well, and I'm fascinated by that. So,
Thank you.
would you like to give any shout outs or thank yous to supporters and friends, family, anybody out there you'd like to say hello to at the end of the program
Yeah.
here?
Let's say my hello to my wife, Alexia Zachariah. She did some of the artwork in my book. My son did the back cover of the book. He was only 2 years old, but he does abstract. So I'd say hello to them, to the Book Fest Awards, and the people that have bought my book and have just sent me inboxes on Facebook and let me know from all over the world what the book meant to them, and how grateful they are to receive it. So it's always a blessing. So shout out to everybody that supported the work.
Well, it was wonderful talking with you today. So, thanks for joining
You
us on
too.
the program.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You've been watching World Inkers Network, and I am Dustin Pickering. And if you want to support our programming, you can get in touch with us through PayPal, paypal.me/nyparrot. That is paypal.me/nyparrot. And that's where you can send a little cash. And if you want to help us in other ways, you can reach out to me at publication.worldinkers@gmail.com to send a bio and a headshot, and I'll get you on the show as soon as we get an opening slot. We do this on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 a.m. So that's Central Standard Time. And thanks for Alonzo for joining us on the program. If you have any ideas of any other people that you'd like to send us our way, we would love to have them on.
Sure.
So, just keep this in mind, and we'll definitely promote this program today. And if anybody's watching today, you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. And remember, you can like and comment on our material as in process. We're performing live here. We're doing live interviews, and you guys can just give us some comments during the show. If you like what you're hearing, if you want to ask questions, throw in some ideas out there. So feel free to do that. And it's been wonderful today talking with Alonzo, and it's been a great program. And I'm very happy to bring back the show today, this Tuesday. So, and thanks to all our viewers. And you guys, again, subscribe to our channel. And have an excellent afternoon. Get to writing. Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World